still under oath, sir?
Yes, my lord.
Thank you, Brigadier.
Yes, sir.
Now, you told this court in your response that on the allegations of assault by accused number 1, that you did not note injuries on him when you interacted, when you spoke to him, not so?
Yes, I'm referring to injuries to extent of him being suffocated and being kicked, because that's I was responding to that, my lord. And I supported that version with the current books and so forth. That is correct, my lord.
Kuyiqiniso ngishilo ukuthi angibonanga ke ukulimala kuyena kuloko abekusho ukuthi washaywa ke wafaka iplastic ibe mkhahlela futhi ke nezincwadi lezi zasemaphoyiseni akukho la yokubhalwe khona.
You would agree with me that the absence of injuries, absence of visible injuries on a person, that does not translate to the fact that an assault has never happened, not so?
Well, I don't know. It's rather a medical question, and I don't know whether someone who's not trained in the field of medicine can really answer that question or not.
As it pleases the court, my lord. In as much as a person who has not been trained as a doctor may not say that the fact that there are no injuries, then it means that the allegation of assault are not true. In other words, when a person says, my lord.
Does it follow from what you are saying that it doesn't necessarily mean that if you are assaulted and there are no visible injuries, you are alleged to be assaulted and there are no visible injuries, there's no possibility that you were not assaulted?
Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, but now...
But on the same breath, my lord.
Yeah, fine.
On the same breath, a person who has not been trained, and I'm responding directly to my colleague's question.
You can ask the question, no problem.
Yeah, thank you, my lord. Say, the fact that you could not see visible injuries on Mr. Sibiya, that does not necessarily mean that his allegation of assault are unfounded, not so?
So, my lord, so I'll answer it this way. As is being put to me currently, I will not dispute that currently, because obviously the time has lapsed from 2020. But in 2020, had that been said to me, then one would have easily confirmed that by submitting him or sending him for a medical examination, as I tried to do when there was a reporting that he was assaulted by the police from Silverton, by the presiding officer. We tried to embark on the process of sending him to the doctor for J88, which he refused. So, insofar as what is being put to me, I agree with Advocate Mnisi, but insofar as what transpired in 2020, that's not what I saw, and that's not what he told me. He didn't say to me he was assaulted.
Ukungabi khona ke noma ungabonakali kokulimala akusho ke lokho ukuthi ke lokho akusho imsolo ukuthi washayo akusilona iqiniso. Uma ngibuza lokho ke manje njengesikhathi samanje yebo ngavubelana ke nawe, kodwa uma lokho kwakubuzwe ke ngalesi sikhathi noma ke ngo2020 angizothi ke lokho kuzofanele ukuthi ke kuqinisekiswe uyena ke udokotela ngokuthi umuntu ahanjiswe ke kudokotela. Yilokho ke ngangizama nokwenza ngathi ke kuney'nsolo zokuthi washaywa amaphoyisa ase-Silverton ukuthi akahambe kayebona udokotela, kodwa ke wanqaba.
Thank you, Brigadier. I'm doing this with a view to try and clear up certain things that you came up with in your response, which might be a little bit not so accurate. Now you said that Mokhula was responsible for Sibiya because it is Mokhula who had arrested Sibiya. Did I hear you well there?
No, I don't think you had him. Perhaps you had partly corrected my note. When I say responsible, I'm referring to the investigating officer. The person whom I assigned the docket to was Sergeant Mokhula, and by the virtue of that, she is responsible. That is why the application for J50 was here. But in addition, my lord, that is why I said we then had the SWAT team, which was an elite unit, and I know she was assisted there. So I do not know who played what role there, but the SWAT team was there. But insofar as the responsibility in terms of the docket, the processing of it, and the investigating officer was Sergeant Mokhula. So I was saying that in that context, my lord.
Uma bengithi ke wayengaphansi kwakhe uSergeant Mokhula bengikhuluma ke uphenywa ke beqala umuntu okuyena wayephenya kodwa ngiyazi ke ukuthi ke nalaba ke noma iqembu leSWAT lalikhona ke ukuthi ke lilekelele lapho bengisho lokho mangithi ke waye umuntu waye responsible noma umuntu wayengaphansi kwakhe kwakuyena uSergeant Mokhula.
Thank you. So in other words, you're saying although the SWAT team was requested to come and assist there in the capacity in which they were requested in, but the main person was responsible for the investigation and probably the custody of the person of Mr. Sibiya must have been Mokhula. Should I understand you in that context?
No, not the last part, because the custody, obvious, Sergeant Mokhula is a female, so I think if they are males, they may want to take a primary role in terms of the control. But yes, insofar as Sergeant Mokhula being the IO, my lord, and the carrier of the docket, she leads. The other members were there to support. She's the one that would say, yes, the warrant of arrest, and whatever support the members will want to support their own, they would have then supported in that regard. I was not there, but what I know and what I'm saying to this court is that she was the investigating officer and in charge of the investigation, and as well as the docket.
Engishoyo ke ngayo uSergeant Mokhula ukuthi ke uyena ke wayehola noma ke uphenyo ke nokuthi idokodo uma kuukuthi ke nayi ke iwarrant noma ke incwadi ethi ke akaboshwe ke, then abanye laba bakhona ke bona ke kuyibona ke abantu besilisa bekuzoba yibona ke abantu abazothi balekeleleke kuloko, kodwa ke umuntu behola ke ukuthi uphenyo bekuba bekuyena uSergeant Mokhula ukhuluma ngaleyo ndlela.
Even if I really don't follow what you're trying to explain, but it's fine. We never intended to make a mountain out of this, Brigadier. Now you also said that you never saw a Ford Ranger at First Lawrence Police Station when accused number 5. No. When accused number 1 opened his eyes. I see Advocate Numalo, he nearly jumped up when I mentioned accused number 5. It was just a slip of a tongue. Now you said you never saw a Ford Ranger when accused number 1 opened his eyes. I just heard you saying that. Is that what you said?
No.
At First Lawrence, when you're trying to explain that his version is devoid of all truth.
Yes, so what I said, my lord, is that I stand by my submission, which I've said now and earlier, that when I arrived in First Lawrence, accused number 1 was in a VW Golf that was assigned to Sergeant Mokhula. That is the vehicle I interacted with accused number 1 on, and not the Ford Ranger.
Engikushoyo ke noma engishilo ngaphambili engisakushoyo namanje ukuthi uma ngifika eFirst Lawrence imoto wayena ke umsola wokuqala ekuyimoto ke eyayinikezwe yena ke uSergeant Mokhula kwakuyi VW iGolf.
But you further said, Brigadier, specifically that you never saw a Ford Ranger there.
Yes, my lord, I'm saying I didn't. That's the accused, because I understood the statement saying he was in a Ford Ranger. At some stage, he was taken out to sit in the pavement. I'm saying that's not what I saw. When I arrived, he was in a VW Golf. That's the car that I saw. Introductions were done. I interacted with him in the VW Golf, sitting and joining him in the back seat. Thereafter, we moved to Ayrton. At no stage did I see a Ford Ranger or him being moved to a Ford Ranger. That's the assertion I was making, my lord.
Thank you.
Engikuphendulayo noma ngishoyo nge-Ford Ranger ukuthi ke imoto engafika ke lapha kuyona umsola kwakuyi VW iGolf imoto ke wayehlezi kuyona ke ngoba ke insolo bezithi ke wakhishwa ke kuyona ke Ford Ranger wabe sehlaliswa phansi. Sihambile ke lapho saya eAyrton ke angibonanga iFord Ranger iloko ngishoyo.
Thank you. This I'm clarified. Now you further told the court that there seems to be a bit of a change of scenes, because at one stage I put it to you that you met an accused person in the precinct of the police station, but at the same time there were so many shops there, you really don't know where accused person was in terms of what I put to you. Is that what you said?
So no, so let me start here, my lord. What I said is that the version in my recollection of what was put to me by the late Mr. Mgomozulu.
Yes.
It was never said that I was present at any place when accused number one was assaulted. That's the first part that I was recalling.
Eyokuqala ke sorry engishilo ukuthi nkathi ke esekhona Mr. Mgomezulu kaze asho ukuthi ke ngangikhona kuleyo ndawo noma la ayeshayelwa khona ke umsola.
And I'm saying now it is contrary to what I'm hearing now, that I was present personally when he was assaulted. That's the first part I dealt with.
Engishoyo ke ngithi ke manje lokho ke engikutshelayo ke manje ukuthi manje sekuthiwa ke ngangikhona ukuthi kuhlukile ke kuloko okwakushiwo kumina ngaphambilini.
Now I then explained my knowledge of where the municipal offices are situated in Phosphorus, my lord, and that is where I said when you come in, there's a shopping center. I even made reference of the taxis and them Amapela, and I said during the time when they called me, it was during the day, it was just after 2, and I said there's a shopping center, a lot of shops there. Next to it there's this municipal offices, and I explained that further down then there's a court and then the police station. And I said in my thinking, I'm finding it strange that police officers in a place that is adjacent to the shops, a shopping center, during the day on Saturday will embark in these criminal activities, because that would have been criminal in terms of this brutal assault I'm being told about, without facing any repercussions. Eyewitnesses could have seen them and then reported them accordingly. So I'm saying in that notion, I'm finding that description difficult for me, but I took it further, my lord. That is not only that, because it's not isolated. That was also coupled with the occurrence books that we obtained subsequent to that determined the condition he was in when he was detained in Valeria after Colonel Mboto, in what condition, the regular visits that were done leading up to the time that he went to court on the 1st of June. And I said, in all the entries and the visits, there was nowhere where it was indicated that he was assaulted or that he reported to any officer or members of the holding cells that he was assaulted or he was in pain or he seeks medical attention. And I said on those bases, I'm finding it difficult, in addition, my lord, to the form that was completed by Colonel Mboto, that even there, he does not say he was assaulted. So I'm saying based on those facts collectively, it is difficult for me to comprehend that would have happened. So the adjacent was made in the issues of the assault, my lord. The adjacent of the municipality and the shops, my lord. It was in that regard.
Uma bengikhuluma ke ngendawo lena ke kamasipala kanye nezitolo ke bengizama ukuchaza ke ukuthi leya ndawo leyana ikanjani ke izitolo elaphayana ize ngakhuluma ngawo ke amatekisi akhona laphayana ngaze ngasho nokuthi futhi ke amaphela ebengikusho ke ngishilo nokuthi ke kune uma wehla ke ngalowo mgwaqo lowo ikhona inkantolo lapho ipolice station kanye futhi ke nale izitolo eziningi ezikhona lapho bengithi ke ukuthi ke amaphoyisa amshayele endaweni enjalo ke ukuthi bebezaba khona ofakazi bakubone konke lokho ebekwenzeka lapho bengisho kanjalo.
Thank you, Brigadier. Let's not try to, actually, let me not say let us, because by saying that I will be including myself. I'm excluding myself, but let the court not be misled in one of the many ways. You would recall that throughout your testimony, either in your evidence in chief in the main trial and in your evidence in chief in a trial within a trial, you have been constantly saying to this court that this incident took place at the hardcore time when there was that COVID, not so?
That is correct, ma'am. No. So when you say the incident.
I mean, I'm sorry. The arrest of accused number one. When I'm saying incident, I'm referring to the arrest of accused number one.
Yes, it was during the COVID period, my lord. There I agree.
Yebo ngiyavuma ke ukuthi ke kathi kuboshwe yena ke umsola lokho kwenzeka ngaso ke isikhathi se-COVID.
So it will thus be misleading to suggest that at that hardcore time of COVID, there were many people on the streets. They could have seen this incident. It's like it was business as usual. You know what circumstances were there in COVID, not so? Movement was extreme, particularly this period. I think we're at level 5 or level 6. Movement was extremely limited, not so?
That's not my recollection, my lord. I know there were restrictions insofar as what time could people be outside. But I'm not sure that people were not at certain stage allowed to go to the shops during the day. And that is why I was specific about the time period, that if you look at the time, it was during the day. Although I may not know exactly what were the restriction period at that time, but at that time it was during the day. And I think restrictions were mostly prevalent in the afternoons, my lord. And I may be wrong, because then one will have to go in research. But the primary thing, my lord, it was during the day, adjacent to the shop, and it was adjacent to the shopping center, and it was on Saturday, my lord.
Engikushoyo kusengenzeka ke ukuthi ngingazi ke ukuthi ke kwakuyisiphi ke isigaba ke kona ke lokho ngokuthi mayela kodwa ke ngishilo ukuthi kwakusemini futhi ke kunezitolo ezikhona ke lapha yana kuloko kushiwa ke umele ukuthi ke siyazi ke ukuthi ke kwakune inhlelo ke ngaleso sikhathi leso la khona ke abantu babengahambi ke noma ke kunemigomoko abantu babengahamba ngaphansi kwayo.
Thank you, Brigadier. Brigadier, you are further perpetuating that which I will call as misleading the court. Because you, in your own word, said that you met accused person there with this your other team members at 7 o'clock in the evening. And now we are saying it was during the day.
No, my lord.
Yes.
I think then there's perhaps a misunderstanding of what we are saying. We are talking on cross purposes. If I may
perfectly
explain.
Understood you. Maybe if you suspect that there might be others who misunderstood you, then you're welcome to correct that misunderstanding. But I perfectly understood you.
Yes, no, that's why I'm saying we're talking on cross purposes, my lord.
Yes.
And I said, and it's in the diary, I said my interaction with accused number one was at 1900 hours, and I stand by that. But coming back to the version that was put to me, and I was moving from the version that was put by Advocate Nisi to me to say after accused was picked up, arrested, and I'm moving from that flow because I was informed he's arrested after 2. He says, according to the version of his client, they took the highway November 3, took a certain off-ramp, got to this place where he was assaulted, and then when the plastic was removed, there was a new face, and that was me. If I take into account, my lord, where he was arrested to Phosphorus, it can't take him 3 hours to get there. So the logic for me dictates that he would have arrived there during the day. That is according to his version, not my version. I'm saying I met him in the evening in the VW Golf. So this assertion of during the day is not my version, my lord. I was responding to the version of accused number 3. So number 1, I beg your pardon, my lord.
Uma bengiphendula ke mina bengiphendula kuloko okushiwo uyena ke umsola wokuqala ngoba ke ngaphambilini ushilo ke ngomlomo wakhe ummeli wakhe ngomlomo wommeli wakhe ukuthi ke okwenzeka ke lapho ukuthi emuva kokuthi eboshiweke bahamba ke noma basuka ke lapho behamba ngawo ke umgwaqo u-N3 highway ila abajika khona ke bengena kwilokishi lase Phosphorus emuva kwalokho base bengena kule ndawo ke kamasipala ila athi bashayelwa khona ke manje bengiphendula kulokho ke ukuthi emuva kokuthi eboshiweke kuleyo ndawo leyo mina ngisamile ke kuloko engikushilo ngaphambilini ukuthi ukuhlangana kwami naye umsola kwakungehora lesikhombisa ntambama.
Thank you, Brigadier. As I said to you, I understood you well, and I'll never be confused. For me to be confused, you need somebody to confuse me needs to dig a little bit deeper than that. But what you just said, I just heard it. But let us proceed. You are saying further that you never knew of the Buthelezi brothers up until you had that little discussion or conversation or the interview that you found a little bit harder to say it was an interview with accused number 1. That is when then he came out with the name of the Buthelezi brothers. But even so, you realized that he was misleading you, not so.
So the first part is correct, my lord, to say I didn't know of the Buthelezi brothers until I had a discussion with him and subsequently then received the confession where they were mentioned. So that first part is correct.
La eqaleni ke mayelana ke nalabo babili bakwaButhelezi ukuthi yebo ngangingazi ngabo kwaze kwayisikhathi ke la khona ngithola ke istatement noma ke iconfession la ekhulunywa ngabo khona lapho ke yebo kuyiqiniso lokho.
The second part of the statement by Mr. Mnisi, my lord, by Advocate Mnisi, I did not know there and there that this information was misleading. One needed to investigate because it was the first time this information of the Buthelezi brothers was coming to my attention.
Lokho kwesibili ke ukuthi ke lokho ke kwangasilona ke iqiniso ngangakwazi ke kwaphoqeleka ke ukuthi ke kube nophenyo.
It was through investigation, my lord, that they were eliminated, where we found evidence that it could not have been them because they were in prison at that time and all other things that came up. So point I'm saying is that I did not know there and there when he was telling me that this Marco and Makimbi is actually misleading information. We had to investigate and come to that conclusion and then went back to what we had. That led us to accuse number 2. So I didn't know spontaneously he was telling me. I had to investigate and follow that.
Ngalesi sikhathi ayengitshela ngaso ke ngaye uMarco kanye noMakimbi ke ngangakwazi ukuthi lo angitshela lo kona akusilona iqiniso kwaphoqeleka ke ukuthi kube nophenyo ke la sekuzothola khona ke ukuthi cha sebeyakhishwa ke bona ngoba kwatholakala ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi leso kwenzeka isigameko lesi babe sejele bona ke lokho ke kwenza ukuthi ke manje qhubeke ngophenyo kwaholela kumsolwa wesibili.
Yes, my lord, I'm done.
As it please the court, my lord, maybe before we proceed, I'm not so sure whether this accused person are able to follow the questions that I'm asking this witness because they don't seem to be interpreted. All that is interpreted is the answer that comes from this witness, my lord. I've just noted that. So I'm not so sure if they're basically able to follow my questions that I'm putting to the witness.
That has always been the practice, my lord. It's not new, my lord. So if it needs to change, it's fine, I will change. But it's not new.
Okay. We need to verify, my lord, with the accused if they are able to follow that.
No, you can verify.
I was wondering if the court would find out from them, my lord.
Mr.
Thank you.
Are you interpreting everything which is being said in English in this court?
Yes, my lord.
The questions posed by Mr. Mnisi and the answers delivered by Brigadier Geninda.
The answer, my lord, which will then encapsulate everything, the question itself.
So, Mr. Mnisi says maybe the accused are not following the evidence which is being led by him through the questions. He wants me to ask his clients. Now, I must ask them, do they understand English? The clients say.
No, not really understanding English, my lord.
What?
If they are able to follow, if they say no, it's fine, then I don't have a problem.
No, I'm asking them. You say I must ask them.
Oh no, thank you, my lord.
Do you understand the questions your counsel is posing, accused number 1,
Yes.
2, 3, 4, and 5?
Okay, inkantolo ibuza ke nonke ngesikhathi esodwa ukuthi umbuzo njengoba usuka kuyena noma uqhamuka kuyena uadvocate uMnisi niyawuzwa yini? Inkantolo imibuza nonke number 5. Angisi? Okay, if Advocate Mnisi is putting the question, we are requesting you to inform us so that we are able to follow.
Number 2, 3, 1, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
What's your understanding?
Okay, kuphendule uNtanzi ke manje, so inkantolo okay, sicela uphendule bhuti. The request is when Advocate Mnisi is asking the question, please tell us what the question is, and then when the answer comes, and repeat the answer as well.
Okay, number 3, 4, 5.
Okay. That's the reason why I mentioned that I speak isiZulu. It was simply because of that you tell me everything, because I'm Zulu speaking. Mr. Mapis? Sorry. In isiZulu, my lord, Mr. Ntuli? The request is when the question is being posed, please tell us the question as well.
Okay, sorry, when did you start interpreting? You remember there was a break, and there was your colleague who was interpreting.
Yes, there was a break.
When did you start?
Yesterday.
You started
after the break. Yes,
yeah, after the break, because there was that gentleman. Who's the other gentleman?
Mr. Mzanga.
Is he here, Mr. Nzanga?
He was here earlier on, he's not now.
So you took over from him on Monday?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, if you want us to repeat the evidence which was adduced on Monday, we can play the tapes so that you mustn't say you were not given a fair trial, because this gentleman, Mr. Jonas, is an experienced interpreter. He's actually the head of the interpretation department, but he was, as you know, he was not around until he came back to replace Mr. Nzanga yesterday. So we can play the tape for you guys from yesterday up to now, if you say we should do so. Mr. Mnisi, repeat the question for them, and we'll ask Mr. Mnisi what's his view.
Uma ukuthi ke kanjalo kuzofaneleke siphindeke lokho obese kukhulunyiwe nanjengoba ke uTolika uye izolo ke emuva ukuthi ebengekho beku Mr. Mzanga bekuyena ebetolika uma ukuthi sifanele sibuyele emuva ke siye ngomsombuluko izolo nge2 zika June kuzofanele ke senzeke kanjalo.
Yes, sir.
As it is the court, may I quickly take instructions?
Yeah, fine.
Thank you.
And not only that, my lord, as I said earlier on, not only yesterday, I've been saying there's never been a problem before, because you take the answer, the question, and you the answer. So it should not only be yesterday. If Mr. Mnisi are fair, you should go back, because that's how it's been happening.
Let's hear Mr. Mnisi.
Thank you. I'm unable to take instructions, my lord, on accused number 2, 4, and 5.
No, there's Mr. Ramsipidi there.
Yes, my lord.
And there's Mr. Mumalo there.
Phakamisa izandla ngekatulika ngotolika nezenzo zisho.
Thank you, my lord. Thank you for the indulgence, my lord. Accused number 1 and number 3 are saying there might not be a need for now to go back to the previous days' recordings in order to listen and to have my questions that are put to the witness interpreted. However, they would request that henceforth, at least what I'm putting to the witness as a question, they are requesting that should also be conveyed to them in a language that they understand, for them to be able to follow the proceedings. Furthermore, my lord, they are also requesting that if there's something that the state is saying as a way of an objection.
Of what?
Of an objection, yes. At least they need to be highlighted of what the state is saying, and also the remarks that are coming from the judge as well, my lord. That is what accused number 1 and number 3 are saying.
Okay, and Mr. Kamsipedi?
My lord, with respect to accused number 2, he feels that it's not necessary to go back and have the recordings played for the previous questions that were asked by Advocate Misi, my lord. But henceforth, that questions and answers be interpreted as well.
I've also taken instructions.
Number 3,
I've also taken
number 4
instructions.
and number 5?
Yes, from accused number 4 and 5. There will be no need to play the recording. What they want is progress from now onwards, if the questions may be interpreted as well as the answers that are given by the witness. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Jonas, any remarks after hearing the desires of the gentleman in front of us?
Okay, I will remark. Let me just interpret what I said now.
Yeah.
Nonke ke nisho okodwa ke ukuthi asikho isidingo sokuthi ke sibuyele emuva ke kwimibuzo ebise ibuziwe kodwa ke kusuka manje ukuya phambili ke nicela ukuthi kwenzeke ngalendlela enicele ngayo The remarks will only be, my lord, that I will then request, because as has been happening, and I've been very patient, the long question that would come, that will then be followed by a very long answer.
And the exchanges between
and the exchanges
Nisi and the Brigadier.
and the exchanges. Must I also
To
interpret
say, no,
that?
you know what? I'm walking on the park. I remember saying that, sir.
Because it's only that machine that records. I'm not a
It's me,
recording
my
machine.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying.
Yes.
He's saying keep it short for him. When we were growing up, white magistrates and judges made a difference between an African who comes from the middle of Norway, where there's no newspaper, where there is no radio today, where there's no TV. He says you can't compare him with a city slicker like Mr. Baloy and the doctor here, who grew up going to movies, reading newspapers, going to school. That's how they used to interpret the difference between what they call a person who can possibly understand the lingua franca in Johannesburg, because he grows up emabonin, kunamalites. Whites used to have an idea that when we are in the platteland, niks gaan anders. Okay, it's just by the side. So just do it.
No.
And then if you think you must interject to a witness or to a counsel here, do so. Okay.
Noted, my lord.
Right, Mr. Yes.
Thank you, madam.
Sizokwenza kanjalo-ke bafowethu.
We were on the Buthelezi brothers, and you told the court that you learned about the Buthelezi brothers after you had interviewed accused number one.
Siselaba babili-ke abazalwa kwaButhelezi utshelile inkantolo-ke ukuthi uma uzwa ngabo kusemuva-ke kokuthi utshelwe umsolo wokuqala.
That is correct, my lord.
Yebo kuyiqiniso.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now, accused that has already told the court that on his very first arrest, when he was taken to Tlorkop, those policemen who arrested him and also assaulted him there, they also wanted him to talk about these Buthelezi brothers.
Umsolo wakhe weshoke noma ushilo ukuthi ma eboshwa-ke esehanjiswa esiwa khona-ke eKlorkop, lawo maphoyisa lawo-ke nawo-ke ayefuna ukwazi-ke ngalaba babili-ke kwakuwumuntu-ke nomfowabo bakwaButhelezi.
No, I'm not aware of that, my lord. And nowhere in this docket, Phosphorus 636 of 10/2014, does it indicate the surname of Buthelezi brothers as being persons of interest or suspects prior to us coming across accused number one. So insofar as this docket is concerned, those names were never mentioned as potential suspects, my lord.
Lokho-ke angikwazi-ke kuleli-ke idokodo eliwu-636/10/2024 the Phosphorus case akukho-ke la uzothola khona-ke ukuthi labo babili bakwaButhelezi-ke babe abasolwa kulona leli cala leli.
As it please the court, my lord, accused is drawing my attention to him. My apologies, my lord. Brigadier, actually it is me who makes a mistake.
I understand, my lord.
Yes.
Mina-ke wenza iphutha, yebo ngiyakuzwa.
He called me to come and correct me because he says those who arrested him and took him to Tlorkop never asked him about the Buthelezi brothers.
ungibizile ke umsolwa lungisake lokho engikushilo mina ke ukuthi laba abambopha base behamba naye beya eClorkop abakaze bambuza ngalaba babili bakwaButhelezi.
It is actually your group that asked him about these Buthelezi brothers.
Yiqembu lakho ke elambuza ke ngalaba babili umuntu nobhuti wakhe ke abakwaButhelezi.
But my lord, that's the part that I said it cannot be true, because at the time when he was apprehended for the drug dealing case, insofar as his possible involvement in this matter was to the extent of him being in a company of accused number 2. That is all that we had. And that which
kodwa lokho ke sorry lokho ke akwazi ke ukuthi ngakulona ke iqiniso ngoba ke uma eboshwa ke laphayana mayelana ke naleli ke icala ebekukhona noma ke kwazeka ke ukuthi bekuyena ke kanye futhi nomsolwa wesibili kuleli ke manje icala asikhulumi ngelinye leliyana. Sorry,
no, it's fine. Yeah. So the name of the Buthelezis, my lord, comes in from the confession that was taken by Colonel Mboto, and that disclosure in terms of all the investigation that was done prior to this confession and after has been disclosed to the defense, and nowhere do you see the Buthelezi brothers except when the confession is made by accused number 1.
Manje ke uma seqhamuka ke igama ke noma amagama lana ke abakwaButhelezi lokho kwenzeka ke emuva kokuthi ke uKolonel Mboto esethathe istatement kuyena ke umsolwa ke futhi ke lokho ke noma leyo mininingwane leyo ke yanikezwa ke kubona ke abameli akukho lapho emuva kwayo iconfession nangaphambi kwayo ke la ekhuluma khona ngabo laba abakwaButhelezi.
Yes, my lord, that's my response.
Thank you, sir. And he further says that he would therefore not know how the police get to know about the Buthelezi brothers.
Uzothi ke akazi ukuthi amaphoyisa aze kanjani ke ngalaba babili bakwaButhelezi.
But my lord, I can speak for myself and Colonel Mboto so far as the confession. He said it. He said they were involved, and I indicated that he said he was standing outside. Based on that, my lord, investigation was done, because if there was truth in that, probably then evidence would have been found and those people were going to be charged. So he said it. That I can say insofar as his position is concerned, and my position, as well as in the confession that he made to Colonel Mboto. He mentions them as well.
Uma ngaphendela mina ke ngikhulumela naye ke uKolonel Mboto lokho sikuthole kuyena ke uyena umuntu owakusho ke kwase kuphenywa ke ngophenyo ke olwenziwa ke akukho okwatholakala uma kuukuthi ke kwakhona ubufakazi ke labo bantu labo ngabe baboshwa ke nabo ke bathweswa icala.
Thank you, my lord. Just 1 second again, my lord. One confirmation. My lord, for indulgence. So you're saying Mr. Munaring, I don't know whether he was a constable or a sergeant, or I'll simply refer to him as Mr. Munaring. You're saying Mr. Munaring's arrival at the scene, his participation with the arrest of accused number 1. Let me put it this way. Mr. Munaring's participation, or when he started to interact with accused number 1, was at a time when you called him, when you were already at Ireton, for him to come and take accused number 1 to Deep Kloof to go and meet Colonel Mboto, not so?
Ingabe uthi ke Munaring yena ke uma esezoba yingxenye ke kungenkathi wena ke usumcela ukuthi ke thatha umsolwa amhambise eDeep Kloof ku Colonel Mboto.
That is correct, my lord.
Yebo kuyiqiniso lokho.
Thank you. Now, accused says, amongst others, these are the police who accompanied Sergeant Mohula at Tembisa where he got arrested.
Umsolwa ke uthi amaphoyisa aphelekezela uSergeant Mohula eTembisa nkathi eboshwa.
It was Buthelezi.
Buthelezi.
It was Sadike.
Sorry?
Sadike. It was Jonathan. It was Maphumulo. It was Monareng. Mohula herself, Sergeant Mohula herself.
Sergeant Mohula.
It was Mabena. It was Bongani. It was the police who was driving a Qashqai motor vehicle who was called as Ngamane.
Iphoyisa elalishayela imoto ekuthiwa iQashqai uNgamane.
Yes, amongst others. Those are the ones that you remember. There were others as well, but these are the ones that you can remember vividly their names as well.
Ngenzeka ukuthi bakhona abantu kodwa ke amagama awakhumbulayo yiwona la ashiwo.
So, my lord, I was not there when he was arrested, so I won't really. I think it will be unfair to the accused and myself to actually drag myself in there. I was not there. What I do know is that insofar as I know, when I made inquiries, because I didn't see Constable Monareng in Fostoras at the police station. And my understanding when I inquired who was available from the tactical team, because I knew that that team is entrusted with the duty of protecting us. Constable Monareng was not involved, hence I requested him to come and assist. That's the knowledge I had, and that's why I asked him to come and assist in moving accused number 1 from Eraton to Colonel Mboto.
Angangingekho ke ngenkathi ayeboshwa ngayo ngeke manje ke angeke ngiphefumuleke noma ngiphenduleke kona ke lokho kodwa ke ngikwaziyo ngathi uma sengibuza ke mayelana ke nalabo babekhona eFosloras ngathola ke ukuthi yena ke uConstable Monareng wayengekho lapho eFosloras ingakho ke ngacela yena ukuthi alekelele ngokuthatha umsolwa eEraton amhambise eDeep Kloof.
Now he says Monareng was part of the entourage that eventually took him to Foslores police station where you met them.
Uthi ke uMonareng wayingxenye ke yalabo abamthatha ke bamhambisa khona ke eFosloras la wena wahlangana khona nabo.
No, but that part of Fostoras is not true. I didn't see Constable Monareng. Hence I said I made inquiries to the group command of the SWAT, and I was told this is the member that was not involved. Hence then I requested him to assist. So I didn't see Constable Monareng at Fostoras when I interacted with accused number 1.
Leyo ke ingxenye mayelana noMonareng ukuthi wayekhona ke eFosloras akusilona iqiniso ngoba ke futhi ke kuloyo ke obaphethe noma ke ophethe uMonareng kuyona ke iSWAT ngabuza ke wabe sengitshela ke ukuthi uMonareng uyena ke owayekade ngekho lapha yana eFosloras ngase ngicela yena ke ukuthi ahambise umsolo.
And I'm going to put the following to you, but I'm putting it under corrections because I need to go verify it. I've done a lot of reading, some of these things naturally I might not remember them, but if what I'm putting it to you now is not what is contained in the record, I'll come and tell you that, Brigadier, I'm very sorry about it. I put something that is not contained in the record. Do you understand?
I understand, man.
Ngizosho lokhu ke kuwena kodwa uma kuukuthi ke lokho engikushoyo akukho ngaleyo ndlela ke noma kusilona ke iqiniso ngizohamba ke ngiyobheka ngoba ke ngokuhamba kwesikhathi usuyifunda lezi zinto ezinye zazo ke usuyayikhohlwa. Uma kuukuthi ngihambile ngayofunda ngathola ukuthi engikushilo kuwena akukho kanjalo ngizobuya ke ngizoxolisa kuwena.
As I could please, my lord, we don't think that would be the correct way of cross-examining a witness, I think when you put a question to the witness, you have to be sure of that question so that the witness doesn't give an incorrect answer. It will serve no purpose to put a wrong proposition to a witness and for the witness to answer on the wrong proposition, then to come back the following day and say, but sorry, that proposition was incorrect. I think it's better for counsel to first verify those propositions before they are put to the witness.
Angicabanga ukuthi ke iyona ndlela ke leyo yokwenza izinto ukuthi ke usho into ongaqinisekile ngayo ukuthi ke ngempela ikanjalo noma ayikho kanjalo abese ufakazi uyaphendula ke naye ke into engekho ngaleyo ndlela ke cabanga ukuthi indlela ke ekuyiyona ukuthi uhambe ke uyobheka noma uyoqinisekisa lokho ngaphambi kokuthi ke ukusho.
As it is the court, my lord, that happens in a normal trial. This is trial sui generis. It's a trial sui generis, and there is nothing, my lord, in the books of the law that I've read thus far, and that is confirmed in the Constitution. I think it's section 173 of the Constitution that says that the High Court has got an inherent jurisdiction to regulate its own processes. That coupled with the fact that this is just a trial out of this world, it's just an extraordinary trial, my lord. I don't think there is a harm in doing what I've just requested to do, my lord, because it simply says that upon verification of that information, then I'll come back to the witness and say, yeah, no, Brigadier, I've made a mistake. That should be regarded as a non-scripto. I can feel there's no harm. The reason why I'm doing that, my lord, is simply because I don't want this that is in my head to be forgotten in view of the massive evidence that is being led here.
Angicabangi ke ukuthi ke ikhona into engangivimba ke noma ukuthi akusiyona ke uma ngenza ke ngalendlela ngoba ke ngahamba ke ngiyobheka ke uma ngithola ukuthi lokho engikushilo ayisikona ngibuye ke ngisho kuyena ke ubrigadier ngithi cha brigadier ngendlela ke engibeke ngayo noma engikubuze ngayo akusiyona ke uma ngabe bese ngibuyele emuva ngayobheka.
What about the oath?
The oath that was taken by me, my lord.
It doesn't affect the oath.
The oath that was taken by me.
No, this witness took an oath to tell this court the truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God. That witness.
That would not have come from this witness. It is coming from me, man. Yes.
You are putting a proposition that if the facts which you have presented to him are incorrect,
yes,
you will come back and tell him that they are incorrect.
Yes.
But you expect this court to listen to the evidence, yes, and the answers.
Yes, my lord.
What does that do to the oath?
My lord, there's
He lied conveniently.
No, there's a simple answer to that, my lord. This witness has taken an oath.
Yeah.
He simply needs to stick by and to that oath by simply telling the truth.
How will you know that he's not telling the truth? Because you are questioning your own knowledge of what you want to put to him.
He just got to stick to the truth that he knows that this is the truth.
You yourself, how will you know that when he answers you, he's not telling the truth? You understand the question, sir?
That then will be up to the court, my lord, to make a judgment as to what should then happen with the answer that he would have given, my lord. I'm not there to make a judgment.
No.
Yes.
The law says you don't put any premise, supposition,
yes,
or evidence,
yes,
to a witness,
yes, if
it is not true or correct according to you. I've got the book here. I can read it for you.
I'm well aware. Yeah. I should not put misleading suppositions to the
and
witness.
I'm not even saying misleading, which are not correct.
Yes, which are not correct.
That's it.
Yes.
So you must have your facts.
Thank you, my lord.
In sync.
Yes.
So that you can tell this witness, Brigadier, here, you are either lying or whatever.
Thank you, my lord.
So what do you want to do?
No problem, my lord. I can put this question in abeyance.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Emuva sokuthi ebuziwe-ke inkantolo noma isimtshela-ke
What's your view, Mr. Newman?
uthi-ke kwamanje uzowumisa-ke loyo mbuzo lowo advocate Mnisi.
Maybe you can advise
No, the court is correct. Yes, I do follow.
Mr. Ramsey.
As it pleases the court, my understanding is that you cannot put a proposition to a witness that you know that you don't have the basis thereof. It's not true. Is the court basis.
Okay, fine, yeah. Okay, but he's withdrawn the question.
So umisile-ke kwamanje loyo mbuzo kodwa bobabili-ke uMr. Ramsipile no-advocate Nxumalo bayavuma-ke ukuthi ngempela akwazi-ke ukuthi ungasho into kufakazi ongenaso isiqinisekiso sayo ukuthi ngempela ingaleyo ndlela oyibeka ngayo noma oyisho ngayo.
Thank you, Brigadier. I'll go and verify this first. So, you are saying, and you're very steadfast on that Munaring was not part of the team at Foslores, where you met accused number 1.
Kusho lokho-ke uthi unesiqiniseko sako ukuthi-ke uMunareng wangasiyona-ke ingxenye yaleli thimba noma leli qembu lapha eFosloras.
Yes, my lord. I said I did not see him specifically. I inquired with the group commander of the team that was being led by Mr. Buthelezi as to who is available, because I knew they were working shift, who was not part of their team to assist with the movement, and the name of Munareng was given, and I didn't see him at Fostoras when I interacted with the accused number 1, my lord.
Yebo, lokho ngiyakusho-ke ukuthi angimbonanga noma ngizange ngimboneke eFostoras nkathi ngangikhuluma naye umsolo wokuqala uMunareng, ngase ngibuza-ke kulona-ke ithimba lelo elaliholo uyena-ke uButhelezi kwase qhamuka-ke noma kuvela-ke igama lakhe uMunareng.
Brigadier, so that I understand you well. You are saying you verified or you spoke to Buthelezi, who was a team leader, who told you that Munareng was not part of them, and indeed yourself never saw Munareng at Foslores. Now, this Buthelezi that you're referring to is the Buthelezi who testified here at court.
That is correct, my lord. So the SWAT team had 2 commanders, Mr. Singh, who was senior to Buthelezi. Now, in the field of the elite unit, there's a group commander, and Mr. Buthelezi, Sergeant Buthelezi, was the group leader. Hence, I said, after, and my discussion with Sergeant Buthelezi took place after I got a confirmation from Colonel Mboto telephonically to say, in your team, who is available that was not part of the arrest that can assist with the movement, and the name of Constable Munareng came up, and I was comfortable because I also did not see him in Fostoras. Hence, then I made a call to Munareng to say he must meet me in Ereton to assist with the movement of accused 1 to Colonel Mboto, my lord.
Okwenzekayo-ke ukuthi laphana-ke eSwati-ke kunababili-ke abaholayo uSingh kwakuyena-ke owaye ngaphezulu-ke kuButhelezi, kodwa yena-ke uButhelezi uyena owayehola iqembu noma-ke i-team leader. Ngathi-ke uma sengibuza-ke kwavela lona-ke igama lakhe uMunareng, ngabe nami-ke uMunareng ngakaze ngingambonanga khona laphaya eFosloras, kanye naye-ke uKolonel Mboto uma esesho-ke obuza ukuthi ubani kwiqembu lakho owengasiyona-ke ingxenye, ngathi-ke wayeboshwa umsolwa ila ekwavela khona noma kwaqhamuka khona igama likaMunareng.
Thank you, Brigadier. This discussion around Ms. Munareng, as I've said, we'll hold it in abeyance until I verify the exact question that I want to put to you. Thank you.
Lo daba-ke lukaMunareng ngizobe-ke ngima-ke ngalo ngize ngitholeke isiqiniseko mayelana-ke nombuzo lo ebengifisa noma ngifuna ukuthi ngiwubuze kuwena.
I understand, my lord.
Ngiyakuzwa.
Thank you. Now you're saying that the allegations by accused number 1 that you were at Deep Cliff, where you met, where he was taken from. Actually, before we get there, you are saying from Foslores, accused number 1 was then transported or taken to Ireton, where he further was driven to Deep Kloof, where he ultimately met with Mboto.
Uthi-ke ukusuka khona eFosloras kwasekhanjwa-ke naye-ke umsola kuyiwa e-Eratin. Mase kusuka-ke khona e-Eratin kwayiwa e-Deep Kloof la ahlangana khona no-Colonel Mboto.
That is correct. From Eratin, he was taken by Constable Munaring. I handed him over to Constable Munaring after the conversation, the telephonical request, my lord.
Kuyiqiniso lokho ukuthi-ke ukusuka khona-ke e-Eratin ukuya e-Deep Kloof wathathwa uyena uConstable Munaring. Imina engamcela uConstable Munaring emuva-ke kokuthi sengenza-ke noma-ke isicelo senziwa ngocingo.
Such that the allegations by accused number 1 that he never was taken to Eratin, instead from Foslores he was taken to Deep Kloof, according to you, that is misleading.
Futhi-ke ney'nsolo noma uthi-ke iy'nsolo lezi eziqhamuka kuyena-ke umsolo zokuthi-ke uma kusuka eFosloras akakaze ahanjiswe asiwe e-Eratin, uma kusuka eFosloras wasiwa e-Deep Kloof ngokusho kwakhe uthi lokho akusilona iqiniso.
No, it's not. I was not there, my lord. From Eratin, from Foslores, we went to Eratin. Eratin, he was handed over by me to Constable Munaring, and then he was taken to Colonel Mboto. I know he was with Colonel Mboto because Colonel Mboto phoned me when he was done to say, I am done, but I will not hand over the confession document to your members. You have to come and collect it. So I had a confirmation, and subsequently I received the form, but we never went directly to the proof SAPS, my lord.
Lokho-ke akusilona-ke iqiniso ngoba-ke angikaze-ke ngiye noma angizange ngiye lapho. Uma suke eFosloras sahamba-ke saya e-Eratin. E-Eratin yila khona mina-ke ngamdlulisela kuyena uConstable Munaring. Ngiyazi-ke uMunaring wasemthatha-ke emsakena-ke uColonel Mboto. Ngiyazi ukuthi naye-ke uColonel Mboto ngoba-ke uColonel Mboto wase engishayela ucingo engitshela ukuthi useqedile nokuthi futhi-ke uma eseqedile njalo-ke wathi cha document lela noma-ke i-statement lesi angeke ngisinikezeke amalunga lana noma ama-members akho, kuzofanele uze wena-ke uzosilanda.
Thank you, Brigadier. Now you spoke so very passionately about Colonel Mboto. You said Mboto was a very senior person and also ethical. Do you still remember that?
Ukhulumileke ngalendlela okhulumileke ngayo-ke ngaye uColonel Mboto-ke ngendlela-ke asebenza ngayo noma nangendlela-ke ayimisele ngayo uma enza-ke umsebenzi noma-ke wenza izinto ngohlelo noma ngendlela.
Yes, according to my experience, my lord, that's the experience I have of him. I don't have any other one, my lord.
Yebo-ke ngokumazi kwami-ke noma-ke indlela-ke engimazi ngayo iyona-ke leyo, ayikho engenye-ke engimazi ngayo.
Now we, to some extent, might find each other when you say Mboto was a very senior person. I don't know, he was a colonel, not so then?
Yes, he was a colonel, my lord.
Thank you.
Ngaleso sikhathi-ke yebo waye uyena uColonel uyena uMboto.
Yeah. I don't know if a colonel is a very senior person in the police, and that I may not argue. But I'm interested in you saying that Mboto was ethical. What do you mean when you say Mboto was ethical?
Angazi-ke ngokwasemaphoyiseni-ke uma umuntu ewuColonel noma-ke ubambeke isikhundla esiphezulu-ke, kodwa-ke ngohlobo obeke ngalo-ke uthi-ke umuntu wayenza-ke izinto ngohlelo noma-ke ethical phecelezi ngesilungu-ke usho ukuthini?
So, my lord, that response must be taken into context of the question that was put to me, or the suggestion that accused person, including myself, we went to Colonel Mboto and certain things happened in his presence. And I was of the view that based on my experience, I doubt very much, knowing the experience of Colonel Mboto and his good standing insofar as I know him, that he will expose himself to such unethical conduct, because it will be really not only unlawful, unethical, where myself and him, we sit with junior members where now an accused person must be forced to concede to certain things. That is not only unlawful, it is also unethical, my lord. So it was responded in that context, my lord.
Uma bengiphendula ngaleyo ndlela ke bengikusho lokho ke kuloko ebekushiwo kumina ke ukuthi ke ngangikhona ke noma ngahamba ke nami ngaya khona eDeepkloof ngindawonye naye ke uKennel Mboto ukuthi ke ngendlela engimazi ngayo futhi ke umsebenzi wakhe awenza ngayo ukuthi mina ke naye sikule ikhundla esasikuzona ke ngaleso sikhathi leso sizohlala ke nalabo ke ababizwa ngokuthi phecelezi ke ama junior abangaphansi kuthina ngesikhundla kwenzeke lokho ke ekuchiwoyo ukuthi kwenzeka ke indlela bengiphendula kulokho.
Particularly, my lord, since there was an arrangement that a certain member, Constable Monareng, will hand him over to him, and then mysteriously now, if I follow what I'm being told, I now pitch up with the accused. And I'm saying, if one takes into account the experience of Kendall, but was even myself, I'll be amazed when the IO requests me to take a confession and says Constable X will bring a person, and all of a sudden now we pitch up with these people. That's unethical, let alone the development that will take place after that. So I wouldn't want to be part of that. And I was saying in that context that I don't think that would have been an exercise that Kendall Mboto will involve himself in, my lord.
Ikakhulukazi ke la khona ke kuye kwakhulunywa ke ngalo ucingo kwashiwo ke ukuthi ke uConstable Thizeni uyena ozoletha umsolwa bese ke manje makufika ke lapho naye ke lo okuyena ophenya icala noma ke oyena ke oyinhloko kubaphenyi ke beqala lelo naye ke usiyafika nami ke bekuzongimangaza ke lokho manje ke loyo mbuzo lowo ke noma leyo mpendulo leyo benginikeza ngayo ngaphansi ke kwaloyo mbuzo lowo obengibuziwe ngaleyo ndlela.
That's my response, my lord.
Iyona ke impendulo yami leyo.
In that long-winding response, Brigadier, you're saying it would have been unethical for you and Mboto to sit down with the suspect in the presence of other police officers and the suspect be forced to say certain things. Is that what you said?
Engabe uthi ke bekungazuba iyona ke indlela yokwenza noma indlela yokusebenza ke emaphoyiseni leyo ukuthi wena ke kanye naye uKennel Mboto ekhona ke amanye amaphoyisa abese yaphoqwa umsolwa ke ukuthi asho izinto ezithize.
My lord, I've said the issue of the experience and the ethical part of Kendall Mboto was said by me responding to the assertion that I went to Diepkloof, and in my understanding certain things were done there which were unethical, and that's why I even went to an extent of saying possibly unlawful. And I said on those bases, I doubt if Kendall Mboto would have involved himself in that. So I'm not making a general statement. I was responding to the assertion that said from Fostoras, we didn't go to Ereton with accused number 1, but rather we went to Diepkloof, and I was present with the team when the accused then was taken to Kendall Mboto.
Uma bengiphendula ke bengisho kulokhu ke okulenkulumo ke ebithi uma suka khona ke eFosloras asiyanga eEratin kodwa ke sase siya khona ke eDukloof nokuthi futhi ke nami ngangikhona ngangiyingxenye yalokho ngikushilo ke ngathi ke uma ubheka lokho ke ubheka indlela asebenza ngayo noma ayesebenza ngayo uKennel Mboto kanye futhi ke nesipiliyoni sakhe ke emaphoyiseni angicabangi ke ukuthi engaba yinto leyo abe ngayivumela nokuthi ke abe yingxenye yayo.
My lord, it should not be forgotten that the assertion was that first he was assaulted in my presence. That's where the issue of the plastic comes in, and I'm present and I made certain statements. Then he's taken to Kendall Mboto under duress. That's the assertion. That's why I'm saying I was responding in that context. Then subsequently he makes then a confession, and that is why I said even in the confession that was written down by Kendall Mboto, there was no such recording that he was assaulted. And I said, based on that, I doubt if Kendall Mboto would have wanted to involve himself in such a thing and not document things as they are, taking into account his experience and the ethical conduct that I know him of. I do not know any other, my lord.
Futhi lokho ke noma uma ngiphendula lokho ke bengisho lokho ngaphansi ke kokushiwo kumina ke ukuthi sekukhulunywa ngodaba lwako ke uplastic nokuthi washaywa ke ngikhona masethathwa ke lapho uyahanjiswa umikiswa kuyena ke uKennel Umbotho la khona ke asephoqwa ke ukuthi ke enze istatement. Uma ngikuphendula ke lokho bengisho ngaphansi kwalokho ngithi ke ngendlela ke engimazi ngayo ke uKennel Umbotho bengeke akuvumeke noma kuvumele ukuthi ke abe yingxenye yako lokho.
That's my response, my lord.
I'm trying to paraphrase your answer in my mind, because I simply asked you a simple question that says, when you say Lieutenant Colonel Umbotho was an ethical person, what did you mean by that? In other words, why do you say Umbotho was ethical? Now you gave a very long, winding statement. I don't want to assume your answer, Brigadier. Can you please simply shorten it, you know?
As a court, please, my lord, the witness has responded to the question. Counsel asked him, why does he say Umbotho is ethical and senior? And he said the allegation that you would have accompanied the accused Umbotho would have surprised Umbotho, and that he himself would never do such a thing, my lord. So he's responding to the question of firstly seniority of Umbotho, and secondly the question of ethics.
Ngizama ke ukuthi ke ngihlanganise ke lempendulo ngoba ngikubuze nje umbuzo ke mina ke ukuthi ke kungani Umbotho umusho noma imchaza ngalendlela ukuthi ke kuumuntu osebenza ke ngendlela phecelezi ke ethical owenza ke izinto ngohlelo wena ke wasunikeza ke ngalempendulo ende siyaphendula ke umshushisi uthi ke ufakazi uphendula kuona ke umbuzo lowo ukuthi ke uma ukhuluma ngesipiliyoni sakhe ke Umbotho nokuthi ke usebenza ke ngalendlela kuumuntu ke owenza izinto ngohlelo usho ukuthini ngoba ke uyachaza ke ukuthi indlela ke amazingayo uKennel Umbotho nokuthi ke futhi ke bekungamangaza ke nokuthi afike yena ke khona lapha kodwa bekuyena umuntu owenze isicelo ukuthi umsolwa aphelekezele.
Thank you. I need to confirm with you, Brigadier, because I requested you just to shorten your answer. Do you then align with what the state has just said now?
Ingaba lokho oqeda ukushiwa ke umshushisi ngoba bengiceleleke ukuthi impendulo yakho uyenzeke ukuthi bemfishi ingaba lokho oqeda ukusho umshushisi uhambisana nako.
Yes, I am aligned with the statement, Lord, in that I've responded to the question that I'm being asked, but I've put it into context as to where was my response emanating from. It wasn't a standalone question which says, is Colonel Umbotho ethical and professional, or what is his seniority in the police? It was emanating from the allegation that were put to me that accused one was assaulted. Subsequent to the assault and the threats that were made to him using a tube, being kicked in a bad manner, he is then taken by me and these members to Colonel Umbotho. In other words, we are furthering the unlawful activity, and in that response, that is why I spoke about the experience, the seniority of Colonel Umbotho, and my understanding of his ethical conduct, that I doubt if Colonel Umbotho, because in the form he doesn't say the accused was assaulted, and I said even myself will never expose myself to be part of such activity. So the ethical part and the seniority was in response of what was put to me as the version of accused number one. So yes, I responded and I aligned myself with what Advocate Baloyi is saying.
Yebo ke ngiyahambisana naloku oqeda ushiwa uyena ke uAdvocate Baloyi ngoba uma ngabe bengiphendula kuona ke umbuzo noma ke inkulumo eshoyo ke ukuthi washaywa umsolwa wafakwa ke wona ke uplastic ekhahlela nokhahlela kwase emuva kwalokho ke eseyathathwa ke ehanjiswa ithimba leli nami ngikhona ke lapho esiwa kuyena uKennel Umbotho ngathi ke ngesipiliyoni sakhe ke anaso ke nangendlela futhi asebenza ngayo noma ke izinto azenza ngohlelo ngiyangabaza ke ukuthi ke uKennel Umbotho ebengavumela ke lokho nokuthi abe yingxenye futhi yako lokho.
Thank you. Brigadier, do you then realize that the production of the AVL records of the motor vehicles that were involved in the arrest of accused number 1 would go a very long way in assisting this court to come to a just finding in respect of the movement of those motor vehicles. Do you then realize that?
As a court, please, ma'am. The issue of the AVL records was addressed yesterday. I don't know why this witness now is expected to give an opinion on something that it's already addressed in Exhibit XX1 up to XX13, my lord, and this happened yesterday.
Ingabe udaba lolu ke lo AVL noma ke lokho beceliwe ke abameli kodwa ke ngatholakala ke uyazini ukuthi ke bekuzoba usizo olukhulu ekuthini ke inkantolo ibuzwe ke lo bufakazi ke bise futhi ke kusiza kulekelela nenkantolo ukuthi ke ifike ke kwisinqumo ekuyisona mayelana nalo daba lolu mshushisi sethi ke angazi ukuthi kungani udaba lolu ke lo AVL luvezwa futhi ngoba ke kukhulunyiwe ngalo izolo kwashiwo ke nokuthi futhi imiphi imiphumela noma ke okutholakele.
The state is missing one point, my lord. The issue of the AVL is not closed. Remember, we're still waiting for the AVL records of the 4th Ranger, the AVL of the Qashqai motor vehicle, and I think I mentioned another one. All that they produced, or that was referred to yesterday, it was just a fraction of what we requested, and they could not come up with an answer as to what is happening with these other vehicles. But nonetheless, from a point of view of a witness who is not a layman in investigation, do you then realize that those AVL would assist the court to come to a determination on the movement of the motor vehicles on that day?
Udaba lo khona ke la umbuso ke ngicabanga ukuthi ke uyigeja khona ke ngoba ke udaba lolu le AVL asu ukuthi ke udaba oluvaliwe ukuthi nje kuphela ke kulokho ke abakushilo bona ke izolo kuyingxenye nje yaloku ebesicelile ke sisalindeleke imbiko wayo iAVL yale moto iFord Ranger kanye nayo ke iQashqai akusuka ukuthi ke udaba oluvaliwe manje ke nanjengomuntu ke okantshubomvu ke kwezophenyo ngaba uyakwazi yini ukuthi ke lo mbiko lona ke noma ama AVL ebezolekelela inkantolo?
My lord, my understanding, and I'm saying this with greatest respect, I thought the issues of the confessions were dealt with during the trial within the trial. And my understanding is that the court made a ruling. Those statements are admissible. I'm not sure how to answer this based on that background because Colonel Mboto comes in insofar as the confession that he took. And I'm under the impression that that part was dealt with. So am I now to understand that we're opening that part again? Because then my answer will be different to a situation when that matter has been dealt, that situation has been dealt with and closed, to a situation when it's still open. So that's the difficulty I'm having, whether those records, which those vehicles, which I'm not aware of in terms of registration numbers and so forth, will be relevant or not. That's the difficulty I'm having, because I'm having a certain impression, and the question now, I'm two-folded, my lord, to say, because the answer won't be the same if the situation is still open or closed. The answer is not the same. So that's the difficulty I'm having to answer.
Indida ke mina ke ngoba bengicabanga ukuthi ke udaba ke lolu eitatimende lezi zokugonyuluka ukuthi ke udaba ke lolu oludingidiwe la enkantolo yabese inkantolo yenza ke noma ikhipha isinqumo ke kulokho nokuthi futhi ke lama confessions wona ke lana noma lena ke yakhe uKenneth Mboto se ila esingidida khona ke manje ukuthi ke uma sengiphendula ngizokuphendula kanjani ke lokho ngoba yinto lena inkantolo eyakhipha isinqumo ngayo.
Thank you, Brigadier. I would have wished to proceed to another aspect of my cross-examination, but when I'm about to proceed, my mind keeps on saying to me, no man, pursue this thing, pursue, you see. So I'm unable to proceed before I pursue this Munaringi thing. On those bases, my Lord, and I'm feeling a little bit like my head, it's pounding. I'm unable to proceed in the circumstances for now, my Lord. I mean, for today. I'm therefore going to request for an adjournment for a day. The time is now. What time is it there, Doctor? It's exactly 20 minutes past 3, my Lord. I'm going to request for an early adjournment just to go and... I don't know whether this is to tone down my pounding headache or to cool down or to refresh it, because there's something that is happening in my head. There's a little bit pounding. So.
Maybe you're thinking about the ethical conduct the brigadier was talking about.
Who myself? Me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've heard about unethical judges. I'm sure you have even heard about that. An unethical policeman, an unethical politician,
Cancel, yes.
an unethical priest. I
Yes.
can go on and on.
Yes, ma'am.
And unethical footballers.
Yes, ma'am. Omotoso, my Lord, I don't know where does he fall.
I don't know. Who's Amatos? I don't know him.
Oh, no.
Siqhubeka kusasa lo mfethu ngo 10.
Tomorrow at 10.
Thank you.